All right, we are live. All right, so I really liked the traits approach to leadership, studying leadership. I think that leaders have a specific set of traits, and they break those down in the um, book and talk a little bit more about that. So the first one is cognitive abilities, and they say that all leaders have to have some form of intelligence, and I think that that's true. Even if it's just like intelligence in your specific field, like you could be a good leader in like being a mechanic because you have a good background in that and you're able to teach other people or help other people and you're knowledgeable about it. The next one is the internal locus of control, which believes rewards come from their rewards come from their own efforts. So they don't expect other people to make them successful. They believe that they need to be a part of being successful. And then there's personality traits that go with that as well. And then there's a few different types of motivation that there are three different types of motivation. I think that the social normative, which is driven by the sense of duty and non-calculative, is typically the most impressive form of leadership. Like I would think that would be like someone who goes to the Peace Corps or something like that, that they just feel like they need to help people and lead people. However, non-calculative in like a work setting is probably the best because they just want to preserve the group harmony and want everyone to work well together. And they're not so worried about like their own power and what they get out of being a leader. And the last is social appraisal, which is the ability to recognize others' feelings and behaviors. So that's good in a leader because they're able to adjust how they lead people based on maybe someone's personality traits or how they affect or how they react to a situation.
Go ahead.
Oh no, you want to go next?
Sure. The leadership approach that made sense to me as like the good version versus the bad. For the good version, I related to the Hershey and Blanchard situational leadership approach, and the aspects of like the follower readiness being broken down into two components of ability and competence in reference to like skills and knowledge and experience. For example, like a medical intern making the rounds for like the first time has a super low ability because they don't really know what they're doing. But like a budget officer preparing a yearly finance for like the 20th year in a row has a super high ability because they've done it like the back of their hand. They know exactly what to do. And then you pair that with a willingness and commitment, which is like the feeling of confidence and motivation for like a construction worker who's building the same exact thing, doing the exact same routine over and over and over, has no challenges. So they're not motivated at all in anything. Like they're just doing like a routine. And but then you can hire like people who have a higher willingness and commitment paired with high abilities to do certain tasks that you want based on the situations that you need. Because if you look at the one that I saw as like the reverse of that was the paternalistic leadership. Because, for example, like culture plays an immense role on like the activity and control of paternalistic leaders, where I saw it as paternalistic leadership as being the central person acting alone as the father figure, for example, to make the followers making their decisions and contributing to all of their followers as a whole, while going to like social events and stuff like that and putting on a face, where because it stems from a mutual but bias leadership, where the leaders portraying the role that they care for their followers, but when in actuality they still see themselves as superior. For example, in like Middle Eastern cultures where it's prominent of paternalistic leadership, it's like the father figure takes on a prominent role, making all the decisions for everyone, and everyone follows obediently because they don't want to stir the pot. But then behind their back, they spread all these conversations and like how much they think the leader is bad and all that stuff. But whenever the leader's around, they put on a face of agreement because they don't want to make any situation worse than it already is.
Can I pop in just because that's so funny that the way you took that, the way that you read that, I read it as like I thought of like an example of I had a really boss that almost was like a father figure to me, and I respected him like I would my dad, but I didn't think like I didn't feel like it was like a bad relationship. I felt like it was a positive relationship, and where those like lines got a little bit blurred sometimes, like because of that, he felt like he could call me at any hour of the night or
Right.
whatever. So that got blurred a little bit, and then I had to go back and set boundaries. But I felt it as like I related it as a positive experience, which is just so funny how like when you've had a certain experience with something that you either have a positive or a negative response to.
I mean, I do. There is a fine line. I would appreciate like my manager is very he's not just my manager, but he's also a friend. But sometimes, like you said, the lines do get crossed, and you're like, whoa, okay, hold on now. Like now you're just. But they do. He is concerned about what's going on if I'm upset about something. So I do appreciate it, but it does kind of cross some lines sometimes. So going forward, I'm going in a little bit different direction. Because there were so many styles and of leadership and examples, I really liked the transformational leader. And something just popped in my head now as I'm thinking about it and listening to you guys. Although I think this is the transformational leadership is very profound. I feel like it also builds on everything you guys talked about because it's very I don't feel like it's something everybody has. I feel like part of it is inherent, but also part of it's like what you guys are talking about. It's like having experience and having those other qualities. The transformational leader, there were a lot of subcategories: creativity, interacting, visionary, etc. But I really found the empowering aspect and the visionary aspect of it to be like the key pillars. The reason I picked visionary is because it takes a certain type of person to really show employees in a company like what the bigger picture is, because there are people that are not able to see the bigger picture, whether they're not confident, whether they're like you said, new to the company, and maybe they don't have a lot of experience. So it takes that certain type of leader to really show them. And the book talks about the leader has to really look at the past and present successes and able to give their counterparts a really clear example of the vision. And I feel like once the vision is established and it's very clear and concise, that everybody's able to really work harder because now they have something like an end goal. They're able to see that through the transformational leader. And then the other aspect of it was empowerment. And I feel like that's a huge, another integral part, because if people don't feel empowered in a company, like going back to the authoritarian, if somebody's telling them what to do, but they don't feel like they have any kind of say, input, I don't feel like they're going to be as driven. I don't feel like they're going to be as committed to the company where they're working. They're essentially like robots. They don't feel like they have a voice. And the book was talking about Starbucks and Disneyland. The employees don't have to ask, "Can I do this? What can I?" They are able to, give a drink out to make somebody happy, or give a stuffed animal to a child. So I feel like if there's mutual respect in a company, employees should be able to make some decisions within reason, and that gives them a sense of being really attached and really a tight knit group. How do I say this? It makes them feel very committed and attached to the group and like the visionary statement, or the what the company abides by, if that makes sense.
Yeah, they feel
valued. They feel valued. Yes, exactly. So yeah, exactly. They feel valued and respected.
Yeah, absolutely. And to kind of go on that, that kind of leads right into what I was going to talk about. And so what I'm talking about is the situational approach to leadership, and going more into that, the expectancy theory. And with the expectancy theory, it's when followers are motivated to be more productive when they believe that when they complete that path, that they'll get a more valuable goal out of it. And the best example of that to me is really like, just to go to a sports perspective, we keep talking about the work world, so I want to get over. My thing is Tom Brady and the Patriots going back to their like 9th Super Bowl. It's like insane because the most a franchise has right now is six Super Bowls. That's it. Tom Brady's about to get his 6th in his career alone, and most franchises have done that for 50 years. So, and I think a lot of that is because of the expectancy theory. When people go there, they know if they work their hardest, they do their job, the result's going to be a Super Bowl, because the coach has set that expectation, the quarterback has set that expectation. And I think the craziest part about this time is, and Julian Edelman's been around for a while, but he was a 6th round. He played quarterback, Division II football, like a low D1, I think it was. And now he's the leading receiver and playoff receptions, touchdowns, all that category. And so you're talking about a player who's not 6'5", just this monster dude. And you're talking about a 6-foot, speedy receiver. And I think that's crazy that he's now this all-time playoff receiver. And I think that really has to go with that expectations. And when a leader sets that expectations that, hey, you do your job, you do this and that people will be more motivated to do what they want. And you're talking about empowerment. I think everyone on that team feels like they're right there with Tom Brady. You don't think that they're like, oh, it's Tom Brady who's above. I think the media does that. I look at those players, they all have no problem going up to him, talking to him one-on-one. And I think that's because they give him that empowerment to feel that way. And everyone wants to hate on them. And I'm from California. I'm from the other side of the country. And I'm still like, yeah, you got to give them credit. I'm not a hater. Because that's what that does. That's what being that kind of leadership does to the team. So I definitely agree with that about the empowerment, and then it led right into my expectancy theory.
Yeah, I also really liked the path goal leadership. And one of the parts of that is achievement-oriented leadership, which I think that probably the Patriots use as well. Like, they're focused on goals and, getting to the Super Bowl, and that's really their whole focus throughout the entire year. They set that goal. They kind of make everyone think that that's actually obtainable and make everyone strive for that.
Yeah, definitely.
Cool. Does anyone have anything else to add?
No, I thought that was great, guys.
Yeah, cool.
No,
All right.
I feel like we touched on like different parts of it, so it, we got to kind of explain all the different, not all, but many of the different theories. So that was good.
All right, I'm gonna stop the broadcast. If everyone stays on though, I think that we can still talk.
Cool.
Yeah.